Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oops, sorry guys. Sorry about that. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Tuesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Tuesday morning. Sorry about the late start. Yesterday we had a awesome time at Universal Discourse's place. If you guys don't know, Universal Discourse does a open mic type deal every Monday. So if you guys are interested in reading poetry or performing music, things like that, please go ahead and feel free to join. Feel free to join Monday evenings. It was definitely fun, and I appreciate Universal Discourse's invite. We definitely had a blast. Today we do have a couple of headlines. We definitely have a few things to go over, that's for sure. Let me start bringing all that up. We've got a lot of climate change headlines today. That's for sure. Okay, perfect. So it seems like, surprise, surprise, Mitch McConnell walks back his statement rebuking corporate action over the new Georgia law. So it seems like he actually does want corporations to be involved in politics. I mean, I don't know how he expected to seriously. I don't know how he expected us to seriously believe when he want corporations taking sides in quote unquote political fights, right? It just makes absolutely no sense, considering that, you know, I mean, this happens on the Democratic side as well, but considering that they take the lion's share of corporate donations and things like that, it's really a weird thing to say that you are against corporations taking sides in political fights. Really strange. Then he backpedaled to say, well, actually, what I meant was corporations can still donate, of course. So now, backpedaling to, well, uh well, now he's saying that businesses are certainly entitled to be involved in politics. So now we're at this point. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of these corporations do. The point of corporations getting involved in politics and stuff like that is simply just to expand their bottom line. It's just to expand their profits. Whatever they feel is the right thing to say is what they'll do. I mean, it really doesn't matter what it is as long as they feel like they are taking a stand against something or their image looks good by saying a certain thing. That's what they'll do. But the idea that someone like McConnell wants corporations to stay out of politics while also taking donations, while also not bringing this issue up when MyPillow and among others participated in politics on their side, right? They didn't have a problem with MyPillow participating in politics when it served them, right? So now we've effectively backpedaled everything. We've effectively backpedaled to, well, corporations are certainly entitled to be involved in politics. You know what I think? I think that probably maybe some of his donors called him and being like, what do you mean? They probably called him and said like, look, you need to walk this back. McConnell said on Monday that corporations are better off staying out of politics and claimed that the dozens of CEOs and corporations that have spoken out against Georgia's law were taking cues from the outrage complex. I mean, like I said, the whole point is corporations will always do and say what is expedient and what will make them look good, their reputation. If taking a stance against X is considered the moral stance to take and they feel like, oh, we can do a great PR campaign about this, then that's what they're gonna do, right? I mean, I seriously doubt that these corporations care about any of the stuff that they talk about, but the point being is they have no interest in any of the real underlying issues that they claim to stand for most of the time. I mean, I'm sure maybe some might, but I also want to point out the fact that on one hand, McConnell says, no, I want corporations to stay out of politics. On the other hand, that's not, and while also simultaneously allowing allowing corporate support for his party and his side, right? And now we are a couple of days later. Now we're walking it back to corporate businesses are certainly entitled to be involved in politics. I just thought that was a fun little nugget that I caught right before I started stream. All right, let's talk about this because, I mean, I think it's safe to say that a lot of us could have saved you the grief of having to do an entire study about this. Okay. Dem pollsters acknowledge major errors in 2020 polling. 5 of the biggest Democratic firms have signed on to a joint statement that seeks to explain what went wrong in last year's election. A group of top Democratic Party pollsters are set to release a public statement Tuesday acknowledging major errors in their 2020 polling. Airs that left party officials stunned by election results that failed to come close to expectations in November. Hmm. In an unusual move, 5 of the party's biggest polling firms have spent the past few months working together to explore what went wrong last year and how it can be fixed. Okay. It's a part of an effort to understand why, despite data showing Joe Biden well ahead of former President Donald Trump and Democrats poised to increase their House majority, the party won the presidency, the Senate, and House by extremely narrow margins. Yeah, because so when you put out a candidate, the point of you putting out a candidate is give the people somebody to vote for, not somebody to vote against. You don't have the same energy when you are put in a position that you are voting against somebody. Not really, you're voting against something, not really for something. I didn't want to vote for Joe Biden. I voted against Donald Trump, and I tried to do my part in trying to make sure that Donald Trump wasn't reelected. That I was voting against something. I wasn't voting for, okay? I thought that the play to do the most amount of good for the most amount of people, considering the options that we had, was Joe Biden. I wasn't voting for Joe Biden. I was voting against Donald Trump, right? That was the problem, okay? You don't need a massive study to explore what went wrong here. You don't have the energy that you think you do. Okay? And I hope for the betterment of people that they understand this. They need to put forth candidates that will actually affect meaningful change, that are actually working towards making this country better. I'll give points where points are due. I think that certainly in some aspects, the Biden administration is objectively, palpably better, and certainly some good things have been happening. But what we need is a complete makeover, I think. I think that we need to address income inequality. I think that we need to put serious talks about healthcare. I think that we need to put serious talks about climate change on the table, I should say. All of these things need to be taken seriously. I think that requires a vast amount of political will. Hey, Moats, how's it going? Good morning. Morning. Maxwell House time, nice. I bought some coffee at the store that was buy one get one free. Except in my infinite wisdom, I realized that I bought coffee beans, not ground instant coffee. So now I need a coffee grinder, a bean grinder. I recommend your channel every time I stream. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you. All I ask is just that, spread the word far and wide, folks. Thank you. Yeah, so I really dropped the ball on that one. So I'm going to have to do a emergency coffee grinder purchase, maybe one of those manual ones or something. Because in my infinite wisdom, I decided to buy coffee beans. They were buy one get one free, okay? Like a French press? No, What I need is something to like, there's even like manual ones that you can just kind of like spin around and they'll grind the beans. Just use a hammer. I mean, yeah, I guess when all else fails, right? Holistic field. Johnson & Johnson vaccine halted. Johnson & Johnson, the company known for having asbestos contamination for 4 decades, and tried to cover up evidence in their talc-based products were causing cancer. Yes, spread it forward. We're definitely going to talk about that. I think I have it queued up somewhere. Yeah, pretty cringe. Not good. However, I will say this. Out of the 6-something million vaccines that were given from Johnson & Johnson, this only happened in like legitimately a handful of cases, so it's not a widespread problem. It's a out of abundance of caution, we need to make sure people are aware of this and do what we need to do out of an abundance of caution. Again, this is nothing against the efficacy of the vaccine, but it seems like a handful of people, interestingly enough, women, suffered some type of blood clot as a side effect. We'll get into that. Speaking of coffee, let me grab my coffee mug, which I think I left on the other side. I'm a skeptic, but I will wait until more research and experimentation is before I commit. Yeah, I mean, like, I think so far, the best, I mean, really, statistically, they're all pretty, like, equal in terms of data. But I think that I would probably put Pfizer, in the in first place. I would probably put Pfizer in the first place, if possible. If I had like if I had a choice that they just laid out all three in front of me, I would probably choose Pfizer. But I don't know if that's just like personal opinion because like statistically they're all pretty much the same. I don't know. My brother has a blood clot problem already. He's on blood thinners for life. Yeah, at that point, I would just say him to talk to his doctor, because who knows? I would say just anybody who is like in that category. I would say the same thing probably to immunocompromised people. If they need to speak to their doctor first, I would say just do that. But hey, because I'm not gonna sit here and pretend and play doctor, right? Whatever the case may be, if you have some type of thing, for example, you have a blood clot problem, talk to your doctor and see what the plan is. If you have if you're immunocompromised, talk to your doctor and see what the plan is. Maybe there's no interference, maybe there is. I don't know. That's why you need to talk to your doctor. Miss Strap, how's it going? I've had Moderna, no problem. That's good to hear. That's good. It's very good. It's very good. Awesome. Yeah, it could be anything from like mild. It could be anything from like no symptoms to mild symptoms to like a more like flu type of deal. Hey, my friend, do you have a Discord? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Of course. Alright, hold on, folks. I think I need to reach over and grab my coffee mug. Clay Danius, how's it going? Hoping to get the J&J soon if I have to. If not, I'll get Pfizer. Nice. Yeah, I mean, the benefits of like the J&J one is that it's just one and done. Hey Jesse, how's it going? Yeah, the benefits to the J&J one is that it's at least like just a one and done kind of deal, so there's that. I believe that's it's most effective if you are one of the people who already had COVID. Then that one's the one. I don't know. I would just speak to your doctor. Hope you're doing alright, Cleidonius. How's it going, Jesse? Speaking of food, or I guess drink. Yesterday we had some bourbon chicken. My girlfriend made some bourbon chicken. Oof. So good. I highly recommend it if you haven't tried it already. It's pretty good. Alright, let's continue this doing good, just working and lurking. Thank you. 2020 was a no shit moment for all of us, and one pollster involved in the effort was granted anonymity to discuss the process candidly. And I think that we all kind of quickly came to the point where we need to set our egos aside. We need to get this right. Yeah, no kidding, but that ship kind of sailed. That's about where the answers end. The collaboration's first public statement acknowledges that their industry saw major errors and failed to live up to our own expectations. But the memo also underscores the limits of the polling autopsy, noting that no consensus on a solution has emerged. Hey, how about you just put forth candidates that are interested in meaningfully addressing our problems and putting forth candidates that people want to vote for? BRB coffee. I need coffee or I'll die. True, the J&J is halted. Looks like a QAnoner believer stabbed 3 kids to death. Jesus, Spirefall. Christ. Okay. Was this the school incident that we saw earlier, or was this like another incident that we're talking about here? First thing I see is waking up, for fuck's sake. Jesus, man. Oh, another one. Oh, nice. Great. Excellent. Excellent. You have a recipe for bourbon chicken? Well, me, I don't. I can definitely post that on the Discord. I can ask my girlfriend to forward that to me. But yeah, I can definitely post that. Memmius, how's it going? Lurking and making breakfast. Sweet. She believed that the city they were living in was unsafe and there was a sex trafficking ring, that most of the city was involved in it. Believed the children had been pulled into the sex trafficking ring. Jeez. Yeah, it's the classic, it's classic QAnon. You ever think about keeping track of modern history? I mean, you read analysis of news, who better to do it? I mean, I've never thought about that in that way, Wing. Hope you're doing alright. Maybe, the YouTube VODs are a way of doing so. Maybe having YouTube VODs are a way of doing so. And that way, it will always be documented. It will forever live in the internet. Which you can always download and save if you want to archive it. Yes, that's right. J&J is being halted over blood clot concerns. Yeah, I'm sure you meant to protect the kids from Hillary Clinton, but accidents happen. Yeah, accidents happen. So from what I heard, how do you archive it? Do you Dewey Decimal? Well, you could just like Has to be searchable. I think that you can probably, like, what you can start doing is, if I wanted to archive all of these things, I would start by just dating them. So instead of just saying Tuesday Daily News and Politics, I'll say Tuesday 4/13/2021 Daily News and Politics. And keep it chronological by date. If you want to have a snapshot of what happened today, or what the headlines are for today, and have a snapshot into what happened, you can search up by date. My parents and grandparents kept pressuring me to get the J&J, but I guess it's going to be crickets for the next few weeks. Well, I mean, yes, there are concerns. I think it's mostly out of an abundance of caution. However, when taken into perspective, there were about 6.8 million vaccines given. Out of those, about 6 have suffered these potential side effects. Like I said earlier, interestingly enough, I believe they were all women. So clearly they're gonna have to do investigations, but this is all being done out of an abundance of caution. So I just want to make that clear, right? I just want to make that clear. So we'll definitely talk about that in a second. I have it queued up here. Don't worry, folks. Don't worry. Okay. According to Democrats involved with the internal review, Tuesday's statement marks the beginning of a years-long process to examine why, since 2012, most major elections have tilted against the party despite favorable polling data before the vote. Is somebody gonna tell him? Does somebody want to tell him? Up and down the ballot, Democrats have been more often than not shell-shocked by defeats in races they thought to be competitive or narrower than expected victories in contests they thought they led comfortably. Democrats are not alone in reviewing what went wrong last year. The polling industry is engaged in multiple reviews of its 2020 performance, including a forthcoming report from the American Association for Public Opinion Research's task force that is expected to address the overestimation of Democrats' performance from the presidential race down to races for Congress and state offices. The previously undisclosed Democratic polling review is not being replicated by Republicans, who ultimately lost the presidency and the Senate and won fewer House seats than the Democrats, while some in the GOP were also surprised by the party's competitiveness in last November and are studying their methods. There's no similar organized effort into moving into the 2022 midterms and the 2024 presidential election. There's no simple answer as to why the polls missed their mark in recent elections, but one likely culprit is for some is of the errors of the deteriorating trust in public and the deteriorating public trust in institutions like government and the news media, and the correlation between the wariness and voting for Trump. Between his public statements and Twitter account, the former president cast doubt on polling specifically, while the Democratic consultants suggested that his supporters refusing to participate in surveys. Trump went after the polls, said another Democratic pollster involved in a partnership who was pretty overt to those that were listening about some of his distrust of polls or media. Yeah, I mean, sure, like, maybe some of it did have to do with the fact that there's a lot of politicians, more notably the president at the time, railing against fake polls, right? Fake polls, not right. These polls are wrong. Maybe, yes, that is true, that it will erode the trust and make people less likely to participate in polls. However, I feel like this isn't that much of a mystery as to why the Democratic Party had such a had such a underwhelming performance, right? I wish I could find someone who goes back and summarizes what happened over X amount of months, analyzing what actually happened so we can learn how the current system really works and who the power agents are. Yeah, I mean, that would be one heck of a project, don't you think? Ooh, fake news, MSM saying I'm going to lose, fake, rig. Yeah. The classics. Which, sure, it does erode trust in like polling and stuff like that. So maybe that is a factor, but I feel like a good point to make is when you bring out a candidate, you need to have a candidate that people will vote for. You need to give people something to vote for, not simply, I'm not Trump. That's not good enough. Partisan non-response is one popular theory among pollster. Yeah, it's possible. Kinetic pause. You need to give people something to vote for, not simply I'm not Trump, I mean, to be quite frank, if if um if we were in the situation that we were in with the if we were in the situation where there was no pandemic, there was no economic crash because of the pandemic, I believe Trump would have probably won. If the candidate was Joe Biden and it was a regular election where there was no COVID, there was no economic crash, I think Trump would have won. Plain and simple. But because he fumbled it so hard and was such a disaster. He was such a disaster that it really wouldn't have mattered who went up against him, to be quite honest. We would have lost without COVID. Yeah, I think so. KTS Shine. I think so. And I think that that's something to really take into consideration and have introspection, which is what I said which is what my criticism of the GOP is. I will levy the same here. This isn't a giant mystery, folks. You need to give people something to vote for, not something to vote against. Okay, it is more effective when you can rally people behind something other than like trying to say, well, hey, listen, that those people are worse. Okay, I get we're bad. Listen, I get you don't. I get maybe not all of you are with us, but I get that all of you guys are not with us, but you see those, they're worse, right? You can't just keep doing that. That's not how you really win elections handily, I think. Ignorance is bliss, better not to know. I don't think Biden gets nomination without COVID either. Wait. I don't think that Biden gets the nomination without COVID. So you think that maybe the fact that COVID was a thing helped Biden get the nomination because people thought that people were so scared that they literally thought that this is the only way that they could defeat Trump. We are literally on par with what happened in the past, and they gathered power similarly. Yeah, Hey, sourcing. Memo for the record. Biden was only nominated because of the massacre on Super Tuesday. Yeah, the timing of COVID didn't allow the process to play out. Bernie was still a strong contender even after centrist Voltron. I don't think you realize how much wrangling happened to make Biden the front runner instead of Biden. instead of Bernie. Yeah, I think that, like, obviously there was some there was some shenanigans, definitely. The timing of, yeah, and then that's another point to sourcing. I think that if we didn't have COVID, I think that I think that things would have been different in a number of different, in numerous ways, right? I mean, I think that if Bernie would be the candidate, if Bernie would have been the candidate in 2020, and gone up against Trump in a normal election, meaning there was no pandemic, things were just, no pandemic, no economic crash, that would have been one heck of a race. That would have been one heck of a race. I would have been Trump. True. If Bernie would have won, I'm not certain that the Dems would have had the Senate right now. The fear mongering would have been on another level here in Georgia. Maybe. Yeah, it's hard to know how it would have played out, but I'm reasonably confident that Trump would have won if COVID didn't happen. Probably not against Bernie, but almost certainly against any other Dems in the race. Yeah, I think that's exactly what we were discussing. I think that if it wasn't for COVID, and it wasn't for the economic crash, I think Trump would have won. I really think he would have at least had a way favorable outcome, but because he fumbled it so hard, because he was so disastrous, that people literally would have taken anybody else. Hey Bernardus, how's it going? I think Trump lost because of COVID. Yeah, I think so too. Certainly COVID plus, well, these two are intertwined. COVID and the economic stuff happened, and yeah. The economic crash was coming, the pandemic just sped it up. Yeah, it's the timing of it, yeah. Biden won GA fiscal conservatives, Bernie has GA libertarians, the ones who are not far right in the bag somehow. Yeah, like, that's why I said sourcing. If Bernie went up against Trump as a general election, I think it would have been one heck of a race, that's for sure. That's for sure. Because Bernie does reach a lot of conservative, right-leaning people. He does. So I think it would have been one heck of a coin toss, that's for sure. If it wasn't for COVID, we would have been visited by extraterrestrials. There's no way to know this for sure, but it's fun to make shit up. True. What are your predictions? What are your prediction odds on how likely Trump will run again in 2024? I'm still on I'm still on the side that he most likely won't, although he keeps kind of like hinting. Maybe it's just to get people to continue to scam people out of money, but he has hinted about that, but I don't know if it's just like to scam people out of money, but I'm gonna put my bet that he probably won't run again. I'm gonna say he most likely won't run again. Yeah, exactly, sourcing. Libertarian friends here in Georgia where Bernie supporters are at least sympathetic to his cause. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like right-leaning people that are completely on board with Bernie, in terms of like they like him as a person. They feel like he is honest about what he believes, and they feel like he's honest about what he believes, and they think that he's passionate about it and genuine. So they kind of have this weird, they like Bernie, and I think that it would have been one heck of a race should it have been Bernie versus Trump under normal circumstances. I mean, Bernie against Trump, with COVID. With the COVID and economic factor, I think it wouldn't have mattered. I think Bernie would have just, it doesn't matter. Bernie would have won. Joe Biden would have won. Any one of those candidates would have won in the scenario that COVID is in play. In the scenario of COVID being in play, any one of these candidates would. I do not wish this on Trump for many reasons, but I cannot imagine Trump will be alive in 4 years. Yeah, I mean, well, possible. I feel like he won't, but I also trust Trump to do anything he can to survive, and the only way to survive all these lawsuits are to defer them is to bring being back in office. Maybe. I mean, he's trying to like do stuff on his own. I think he's like launching a new social media company, and he's trying to do all kind of weird stuff on his own. So maybe that'll keep him preoccupied. Who knows? Um, I suspect that he's not going to be running. He just doesn't appear to be in good health. Yeah, that's true. Evil people live forever. Heh, true. To a degree, yeah. Yeah, he's starting his own, like, social media side. I don't know. I don't see... it's possible, but I don't see him running in 2024. That doesn't mean that I'm not gonna, keep an eye out for that, you know? I'm actually more worried... I'm actually more concerned that it's more probable... It's more probable that Ron DeSantis runs in 2024. Sounds like he should be more evil. It's more probable that Ron DeSantis runs in 2024. If Kamala runs in 2024, do you think she has a chance against any Republican candidates that echo Trump? I don't know. To a degree, I think like the Trump thing is like kind of... I don't know. I don't know if the GOP is gonna really do that. Who knows? I also don't think Kamala is popular enough to win a national election. I think. Just judging by her performance in the primary, I'm not sure if she could like... maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm getting this completely twisted, but I don't know. Like if she has the national, how should I say, the national like star power that someone like, you know, the national recognition. It's the same reason why I think like, for example, someone like Mike Pence, popularity, yeah. Someone like, for example, like someone like Mike Pence, I don't think he'll win a general election. I don't think someone like Mike Pence would win a general election. He doesn't have that star power, the popularity. So I think that she will. I don't know. It's quite possible that she. I wouldn't expect her to win a general election. She's basically a token politician. They only picked her because Biden said he would pick a woman on stage. Yeah, sadly, it definitely makes it like... I mean, Kamala has some parts of her voting record are good. She also has a lot of problematic decisions as prior to her being senator. There's also a lot of stuff that happened back then that is quite unsavory. But some of her votes have also been good. I don't know. Literally, Biden had a big brain moment on stage and said something to win points in the moment to her Bernie. That is how we got Harris. Gotcha. Kamala is one of the few people I can't get a clean read on. Most progressive dislike her, and the right hates her identity, even though neoliberals only like her for identity. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of identity politics. Just throwing people for the sake of, you know, identity points. But I don't know. I hope Kamala sent Bernie a gift after being nominated. If he didn't make that pledge, Biden wouldn't have chose her. True. Maybe. Speaking of evil people, Mike Pence is the worst. True. So yeah, there's my not necessarily spicy, but like poblano level of spice. Okay, poblano level of spicy take there. Kamala is a politician. She plays the room. She's very good at it, aside from being a bit more aware of reality than other politicians. Identity is a fair request for representation in these times, unfortunately. Oh, yeah, of course. No one's saying that, like, you know, representation and, like, diversity is wrong, but, like, if said person, is going to still be bad and still deploy, like, bad policy, and hurt people, I believe that then at that point we're doing the exact opposite. Yeah. Couldn't tie shoes even with directions. Alright, so let me just get through this here. The 2020 election shattered turnout records, and since November, pollsters have been eagerly awaiting official information from states about who voted and who didn't, and the data is now almost entirely available. There are clues hidden within. The Democratic pollsters who typically compete against each other for business acknowledge that Trump was able to activate large number of voters who had turned out less reliably in the past. Looking at one state where the polls were off, Iowa, where Trump beat Biden handily, and what had been seen as a toss-up Senate race went decisively for incumbent GOP Johnny Ernst. Republicans classified as low-propensity voters turned out at 4 times the rate of Democrats in that category. Yeah, if you want to activate your base, you need to give people something to vote for. Jesus Christ. This turnout error was clearly one factor in the polling being off across the board, but especially in deeply Republican areas. The memo reads, it also meant, at least in some places, we again underestimated relative turnout among rural white non-college voters who are overrepresented among low propensity Republicans. But sky-high turnout for Trump among irregular voters only explains a small slice of the problem, the pollsters concluded. Even if the polls conducted last year were properly adjusted for future turnout, they still would have been biased towards Democrats. The memo floats at least 3 possible causes. Late movement toward Trump and Republican candidates that polls conducted in the run-up to the election failed to catch, the COVID pandemic causing people to stay home, to answer the phone at a greater rate than those who did not follow restrictions, and the decline of social trust and faith in the institutions. Well, I'll say this. There is definitely a factor of, like, people, people may have felt the urge to stay home if they couldn't find access to send a ballot or something like that. They couldn't. They would prefer to stay home maybe if they couldn't find a way to get there. Versus the more conservative side did not really care and showed up in person, right? So there's another reason for that. I remember a Georgia mayor asked me about Kamala in 2017. I said I voted for her to the Senate in Cali, but she wouldn't make a great president, and he was crushed. The main reason I like Kamala is her awareness to the current desires of the people. She was my number 3 in the primary for that reason. Not because I think she really wants to help the people, but because I believe she would do it if it meant it would help her. Right. When you criticize her, many people take it personal. Yeah, I don't know. Like, politicians should absolutely be allowed to be criticized. I don't care who they are, you know? I think that it is our job as citizens to make sure that we do criticize politicians frequently when they mess up, or frequently when, you know, they're acting against our... Remember, these are public servants. They're meant to serve the public. And yeah, to Sourcing's point, I do believe that, hey, if you think that helping people helps you politically, I mean, I guess the results are still the same, are they not? political instincts will lead her to do good things. Yeah, even if it's for the sake of doing it for her own power or for her own political gains, it's irrelevant if it does end up leading to good outcomes in terms of like good policy that will actually do good for the people. Sure, because like, isn't that what politicians are anyways? However, if we can have a politician that's like that but is actually doing good, then I guess that's the least we can ask for in a politician, I suppose. But I think that yes, you absolutely should be criticizing all politicians if they do something wrong. I'm generally not a consequentialist, but sometimes it is a good method of looking at a situation. Yeah, true. Yeah. Sometimes, Memo, that is true. That is true. Or in our case, I think the closest we got was effectively snuffed politically behind the scenes, right? So that that person never saw. I mean, when the same mayor asked me why I mentioned some of her actions in California, primarily Steve Mnuchin and jailing parents, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Before she became senator, absolutely, there's definitely stuff there that's quite worrying, but they had no idea. But yeah, the one thing about her is she'll sign on to any idea if it gives her power. So if we push popular progressive ideas, she'll sign on into it. Yeah, exactly. That's true. That's very true. I mean, I would certainly hope that at the very least a politician would parrot the will of the people, right? Just saying. But there's little clarity about how significant each of these hypotheses was. While there's evidence that some of the theories played a part, no consensus on a solution has emerged. What we have settled on is the idea that there's something systematically different about the people we reached and the people we did not. This problem appears to have been amplified when Trump was on the ballot, and it is these particular voters who Trump activated that did not participate in polls. Yeah, so that may be a reason why some of these things were skewed. It will be interesting to see what effect this will have in a non-Trump era. Right? I'm curious to see what exactly is going to happen in the non-Trump era. I believe that things are going to be different, that's for sure. But the TLDR, from what I'm getting this, TLDR that I'm getting from this is the Democratic Party failed to give people something to vote for, and instead just gave people something to vote against. Hey, very polite vampire, how's it going? Kamala wouldn't be able to push the same progressive ideas. Biden has been sort of a Trojan horse. Kind of. Yeah, exactly. We all love blue ice cream, then she'll get a test. Oh, this whole thing, I've had it for decades. I love blue ice cream too. I mean, shoot, if we can just get like some type of universal healthcare system on the table, holy crap, that would be a miraculous undertaking, right? Jesus Christ, if we can just get a universal healthcare system on the table. Oh my goodness. True. No, you're not getting one. Probably not. Probably not within not within any time soon, that's for sure, Spirefall. Hello there, fellow communist. Yeah, not anytime soon, Spirefall. I'm not expecting a universal healthcare system to just appear. But I'm saying it would be pretty awesome if someone like who has the same type of like attitude as Kamala Harris says, "Oh yeah, Medicare for all? Oh yeah, I've always wanted to do universal healthcare systems." And then like does it. I mean, hey, you know what? I'll take it. But I don't know. I don't know if we can expect that much from them. Biden's got through amazing child tax credit with virtually no criticism. It's been amazing to behold. Parents are about to get $250 per month per child from July to December. Well, yeah, I'm not gonna knock that. That's definitely something. I'm not gonna knock that, of course. Hey, Chai Beer Cut, how's it going? But why not permanently? Yeah, that's a good point. I'm not gonna knock the fact that he, is doing some. There are some objectively good things that he's done. Okay, not gonna lie. And there's definitely improvements in certain areas, but I think that the thing that worries me the most, why did that get stopped? Whatever. Okay, Automod. Oh yeah, I forgot to edit that thing. Ugh, okay. The thing that concerns me the most about the Biden administration right now is honestly climate change. I think that the thing that concerns me the most is climate change. I feel like it's not there. I feel like, especially, and I'm still pretty mad, and I'm still mauling about what John Kerry said. But I think that my biggest, one of my criticisms or worries, I should say, is climate change. I think that's the area where I feel like needs to be addressed and needs to be there needs to be more a more aggressive approach, right? And I'm just not seeing it, nor am I very confident that he will do what is needed. I want more, but I'm still impressed with what he's accomplished. I wonder if someone the lizard brain reacts too strongly could have done the same. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that, of course, there are positives to say, but as a supermajority, they can do much more through reconciliation. He's got to put Manchin in the doghouse, willing to fight, though. I think he's cozy with nibbling around the edges. Yeah, I think that well, Schumer needs to have a good talk with current President Joe Manchin about being a team player, in the sense in the sense of like, let's get stuff done for the people. I do think that he needs to have a talk, because like Mitch McConnell never had this problem, right? Mitch McConnell never had this problem. Those Republicans that attempted to defect were immediately reined in by McConnell. He either threatened to take away funding for their elections or threatened to primary them. It doesn't matter. He always managed to get everybody on board. Infrastructure is a different beast, though. Yeah, I think that, again, well, there has been some positives. I'm not going to deny that. I think that the most worrisome aspect that definitely we're gonna unfortunately feel is the lack of action in terms of climate change as of yet. That is my one big worry about this. this administration, because like I don't want people to feel like just because Joe Biden is in the office does not mean we solved everything. Okay, sure, there has been improvements, sure, there have been positive things that have happened. I just don't want people to think that it's like, oh yeah, no, it's gonna get worked on, it's we did it, guys, you know. Some Democrats believe that these errors are a direct Trump effect, and that he is a singular force in politics, engendering extreme opinions on both sides, and it will fade if he's no longer a candidate. I don't know, man. I think that the political landscape has changed, and I still think that a lot of the Democratic Party's failures can be attributed to not giving people something to vote for, but instead giving people to vote against, right? Giving something to vote against, right? I think that needs to change. I think the attitude of the Democratic Party needs to change, and I hope they realize this. We're gonna do it in the next bill, and the next one, and the next one. Oh wait, midterms are up. It's like that one guy started a fire, and the current guy is a fireman putting out the fire, but the house still needs to be repaired afterwards. Something to that effect. And like, I think that if the Democratic Party wants to win, they're gonna need to put one heck of a candidate in 2024. I seriously think that Joe Biden should not run for re-election. I honestly think that he should not be running for re-election. He himself said that he was a stopgap and that he would be quote-unquote a one-term president, according to him. I don't think he should run again. I think that the Democratic Party needs to put up a incredibly strong candidate, someone that people will want to vote for. And I think that they need to focus I think that they need to focus on making sure that when they put up candidates for the Senate and the House, that they put candidates who people want, who people would like to vote for. Hasn't he already stated that he will run again? If he has, I completely disagree. I think that he should not run again. I think that he should not run again. I feel like the Democratic Party would become enormously popular if they managed to actually pass legislation to make noticeable positive changes. True! Which, to be quite frank, everybody should be doing. That's the whole point of you being a public servant. But that's neither here nor there. That's why I'm excited about the tax child credit, because people will notice the cash every month. Yeah, I mean, like I said, that's not a bad thing. I'm not gonna knock that. I'm not gonna knock that. Of course, it's a positive thing to do. It's a positive thing that they are expanding certain things. They want to increase taxes on the rich. These are good, objectively good things, I think. I'm just saying that they really need to make sure that they make palpable results. Like you said, very polite vampire. Not gonna lie, 2024 is a scary election, possibly depending on who wins the Republican and who wins the Democratic primary. Unless Joe Biden is reelected, or is running for re-election, in which case, what? That is going to be... I don't know about that. I don't know about that. But they gotta start getting Kamala out there. If they want Kamala to be a contender, they need to start upping her national profile. There we go. That's the word. National profile. They need to start raising her national profile. if they want somebody like her to win. And she's also got to be extremely clear about policies that would affect people and what she would do if she was the president. We'll do a lot to help child poverty. It's a huge shift mindset. Yeah, sort of. Oh yeah, I do agree that they should make it like permanent. But like Chai Bureaucrat said, it will help. I mean, of course. Like I said, these are objectively positive things. But I do think that they need to make sure if the winning play is they need to make sure that they create this palpable results, improve the material conditions of people, and yeah, give them something to vote for. Hey, I was Larry Weird, but I got the jab yesterday, so now you're Larry vaccinated. Nice. It's easier to pass temporary than make it permanent after people get it and like it. Maybe that's the mindset, but I think that like you could just do it. Considering the fact that you have both chambers, I think that it's on you to try to make sure that you get whatever it is that you can do, and regardless, make sure that what you do helps the people, and if it's good, keep it. Tax credits are not helping. They're just hand ups to get vote for this cycle. Not changing the system. Yeah, sure. The tax credit is going to help me. Yeah, I mean, no doubt. No doubt. Hey, Stupka. Yeah, if you've seen the Discord, Mono has kept track of what's been going on. Food stamps everyone can access, regardless. Yeah, I mean, hey, I would be in favor of that, sure. I'm just saying that the expansion of SNAP, the expansion of SNAP, the expansion of child tax credits, these are still like pretty objectively good things. Now, let's make sure that we continue making palpable results that people can see, and then you will have a more or less winning play, especially if you can tie that to saying, hey, hey, we'll give you this to vote for, right? Can you imagine? I think that, like, I don't qualify for SNAP or unemployment as a student, something that needs to change. Yeah, sure. There's a lot of things that need to change. That's for sure, Renardus. That's for sure. You only need child tax if you're making a little over tax in the first place. But it goes well. So in J&J jab, it sings. Hey, Corvus, yes, and it can be eventually snowballed into more and more. That would be great. Of course, I agree. I think that, how's it going, Corvus? I think that, the winning strategy is making sure you give people something to vote for, and if the Democratic Party wants to win, they need to deliver real palpable results to the people, and they need to show that they are in the interest of the people, not not just, hey, we're not Republicans. That ain't gonna cut it, okay? That may have, like, by a thread, that may have worked this election, but it is not going to work again, okay? You need to start delivering. I'm not Trump is not a platform. Going well, heading out for an appointment, just but wanted to pop by. Thank you. I appreciate you stopping by. It's our job to make sure it does, Chai. It's our job to make sure that we keep pushing in terms of like, oh, this is a good thing. Hey, let's do more of that. Oh, this is a good thing. Hey, let's like we need to be there. If you've watched the channel for quite some time, which I know you've been here, maybe you've heard me say this, but like Joe Biden winning is just the start of the fight, you know? This is the start of the fight. This isn't the game. The game isn't over. This is just the start. I honestly felt like Hillary was trying to lose in 2016 when I looked at the moves she made. I honestly, I really want to chalk that up to arrogance and incompetence. I really want to chalk that up to arrogance and incompetence, because the Democratic Party swore that that a clown like Trump would never win, that a clown like Trump would never have a 1% chance of winning. And I think that arrogance, I think that arrogance and also campaign mistakes, incompetence, was what led to her loss, I believe. And honestly, she wasn't like exactly the most liked person either, you know, to put it mildly. We, the people, have to be the fork in the butt, but the politicians, true. Exactly, we need to keep up the pressure. Agreed. Her main message was, well, I'm not Trump, and she voted VP people knew or liked, and then she told progressives she didn't need them and then got no concessions. Yeah, exactly. So the point being is, exactly, KTS. They didn't give people something to vote for. Right? The core of my argument is they didn't give anybody they didn't give anybody to vote for. Or they didn't give anything to vote for. You gave us something to vote against. And I think that there definitely was a level of as KTS put it, there is a level of arrogance and incompetence, thinking that the campaign strategy, thinking that, oh, there's no way a clown like Trump would ever take X state. I forget what state that they didn't even bother trying to campaign. And be like, yeah, a clown like Trump would never win X state. Wrong. Ignoring the Midwest. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Wisconsin, Michigan. Yeah, the Rust Belt. Thank you, guys. True Gaming. Hey, how's it going? How's it going? How's it going? Yeah, so I think that the incompetence plus arrogance, thinking that never a clown like Trump would never win the Midwest. That would never happen. I'm retired and Social Security cover and Section 8 covers everything except medication. Later in the year, I gotta borrow for my meds. Yikes. Jesus, Renardus. Yeah, so I think that definitely a mix between arrogance and incompetence. She would have won if she picked a progressive VP, even as a token jester. Maybe actually like having a correct campaign strategy and taking the and taking Donald Trump seriously, right? That would have been a easy slam dunk race to win. Biden's campaign strategy was pretty base. People wanted him to go to Texas, but he didn't waste his time there and focus on what people thought were Dem locks. Yeah, his in terms of like his campaign strategy, yes. He did what he needed to do. And in terms of like the places he visited and stuff like that, I still think that the messaging was off in terms of like, listen, I'm not Trump. And a lot of it was look at Trump's failures, right? A lot of that messaging relied on Trump being such a enormous disaster. A lot of that also relied on the fact that like Trump was such an enormous disaster that yeah, that's the only way that would have worked. We'll see if the Senate will cooperate, but the plague is the priority number one. I think that, yeah, as we turn the corner, actually turn the corner on this thing, probably, hopefully, if things continue, we'll start being, like, more or less back in a good direction by the end of this year. So that 2022, we can really hit the ground. I mean, this is just me if I had the floor, if I had the agenda. What I would do is make sure that okay, we got the whole COVID thing under control. We got the economy more or less stabilized. I think that people need a little bit more stimulus. We'll do that. The thing that needs to hit the ground running immediately is climate change. And immediately is climate change and healthcare, I think, is definitely on the list. Very polite vampire, that is very true. There's also that kind of also tipped things out of her favor too. Are they going to do another stimulus? I heard talks about it, but I seriously doubt it. My tax refund was 12,000, fucking based, nice, but that's, yeah, stimulating my bills, true. Gone. Yep. She made the same mistake. In Georgia, some old conservatives feel like that even if you disagree with them, they respect you showing up and sharing your ideas. Perdue ran from 2 debates, and Hillary often giggled and yielded her time because she felt it wasn't worth it to rebuttal Trump. That was a mistake. Yep. Arrogance. I think that there's a lot of boost in tax refunds because of this financial situation. I think that this tax season they're giving a little bit more. If people are not so stupid, we will have herd immunity in the summer. Yeah, I mean, ideally, if everything goes right, then yes. Ideally, if everything goes right, that is the plan. However, I'm giving a little bit more leeway or room before we actually start seeing any real headway against COVID. I don't know a lot of details about the infrastructure plan. Is climate change addressed in it? Kind of. There are mentions of making stuff like renewable, and part of the infrastructure bill is putting more power charging stations for electric vehicles. Things like that are being talked about in the infrastructure bill. So I think that it's somewhat mentioned. Oh, I see. So you got all the stimulus checks that you missed in the refund. Okay. Oh, that makes more sense, yeah. I hope no COVID-22. Well, if we all do our part, and hopefully, if we all do our part and try to do what we need to do as responsible people, listen to the experts, so on and so forth, then we can avoid the worst of it, right? We can avoid it. Let's just stamp this out. I think we can all say that this is incredibly daunting already. Let's just do our part to end COVID, okay? Let's just do our part. Get vaccinated. So wear your mask, social distancing, all the healthcare advice. I think we'll reach 80% vaccinated in the fall. I wonder what the summer will be like. I'm hoping again that as we turn to the end of the year, we will start to look at better results. Thank you so much for the follow, Very Polite Vampire. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. Some Democrats believe the errors are a direct Trump effect, that he's a singular force in politics engendering extreme opinions on both sides, and it will fade if he's no longer a candidate. I don't know about that. I don't think we know what it is. I think we still have a lot of work to do to figure it out. I'm marginally optimistic that if Trump is on the ballot in 24, that we can fix it. I don't know if he's not. I do think a lot of it could resolve itself. That is naive. The Democratic efforts stand in contrast to the last major reviews of the party's polling practices. Following the 2012 election, the Republican National Committee's so-called autopsy, best known for its recommendation that party leaders moderate their views on immigration and other social issues, included a list of best practices for pollsters who were also summoned to party headquarters for discussions. 5 Democratic firms that signed onto the memo are ALG Research, Garen Yang Research, GBAO Strategies, Global Strategy Groups, and Normington Pets. Together, they are 5 of the top 6 polling firms working for the Democratic Party apparatus, along with the Greenberg, Quinlan, Rossner Research, according to financial disclosure reports. ALG Research was Biden's lead pollster in last year's election. Participants in Democrats' views said the process, which, unlike the GOP's 2012 effort, was not dictated from party officials, was collegial, despite the fact that the 5 firms compete against each other for business. Wait, so it's not competition. One should feel comfortable talking to your competitors because ultimately we all want the same thing. Yeah, okie dokie. Said a third participant, we all want a useful way to help give guidance to Democratic candidates and progressive causes. I don't know about that. Huge press X to doubt. Huge press X to doubt. Yeah, Stupka, unfortunately. Unfortunately, the reality is, yes, that's already happening. With everybody about getting high levels of vaccination, I feel like there's a broad contingent of people who will be obstinate and refuse the vaccine. As long as enough people have herd immunity and are vaccinated, I think we can stamp this out. Although it is incredibly frustrating that we still have a chunk of people, a concerning enough chunk of people, a concerning amount of people that still deny science, and it's incredibly frustrating. I hope Trump is in prison by the end of that year. Not holding my breath, but yeah, I don't think he's going to prison. I'm not seeing any notion that this person is going to see any type of consequences whatsoever. I mean, there has been no motion or no sign that this person will ever see any type of consequences whatsoever. So I wouldn't hold my breath, to be quite honest. Members of my family are pissed that I got them. Wait, they're pissed because you got the vaccine? All right. Speaking of, since we're here, the CDC and FDA recommend a pause in Johnson & Johnson vaccine over 6 rare blood clotting cases. The U.S. Center for Disease Control and Food and Drug Administration released a joint statement confirming a story in the New York Times that authorities would recommend a pause in administering. So they're recommending it. I don't think they're forcing it. Out of a abundance of caution. Administering the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, there have been 6 recorded cases of rare blood clots around 2 weeks after the one-shot vaccine was given. Today, the FDA and CDC issued a statement regarding J&J. We are recommending a pause in the use of this vaccine out of an abundance of caution. As of 4/12, 6.8 million doses. So yeah, let's make sure that we're on like perspective. It's not a cause for alarm. It's more of an abundance of caution. And as always, please talk to your doctor before, if you have some type of potential underlying condition. Just talk to your doctor. As of 4/12, 6.8 million doses of the J&J vaccine has been administered in the US. CDC and FDA are reviewing the data involved the 6 reported cases of a rare and severe type of blood clots in individuals after receiving the vaccine. Right now, these adverse effects appear to be extremely rare. Yeah, 6 million and only 6. That's like 0.000, like what, 3 zeros? 1%. So yeah. Yeah, and here's the actual statement. So yes, I remember seeing this. It is very interesting that all 6 cases occurred among women between the ages of 18 and 48, and symptoms occurred 6 to 13 days after the vaccination. So all of this was what we can say is that A, it is incredibly rare. B, we don't know exactly what could have triggered the adverse effect, and C, it happened to be all women. I don't know if we'll ever get any more cases that aren't. I am very interested in seeing this. If they have any other cases that are not women, but it's very interesting to note that this announcement should convince people that the government will step in if the vaccine is unsafe, but instead will scare people. Yeah, so I want to make it very clear, okay? It is incredibly rare, first of all, that something like this will happen. 2, data shows that overwhelmingly this vaccine, like overwhelmingly, like this is over 90%, that it is effective and have little to no adverse effects. Okay, I take a blood thinner, so it's okay. I mean, 6 out of 6, 8.8 million. Yeah, so it is incredibly rare or incredibly not likely that you will experience this. However, it is to be reassuring, as Very Polite Vampire stated, that yes, if something was to become problematic in any way, shape, or form, the government will step in. Maybe birth control pills are a cofactor. They can cause blood clots. Yeah, maybe this is interesting. I mean, I'm not gonna pretend here that I know, but it is interesting to note that all 6 cases happen to be women from 18 to 48. It's like literally 1 in a million. Yeah, exactly, Mayhem. So I'm trying to be like I'm trying to be very careful. It does not mean that, you know, everybody should just not do this, okay? It means that this incident happened. The government and the government is being transparent about the 6 cases that happened. They are suggesting that we figure this out. Meanwhile, please continue to get vaccinated, continue social distancing, continue wearing masks, so on and so forth. Yeah, but maybe Larry vaccinated, maybe you do make a point. Maybe because the fact that they were all women, it's possible birth control may have a factor in it, who knows? So yeah, they will also do an investigation, so nothing to be alarmed about. I just want people to be aware, okay? Alright folks, we got 3 articles on climate change. which we will discuss in a second. I will take a moment to show for myself. Maybe the positive side is maybe J&J will go back to board and make an improved vaccine with this one, without this, and also that combats the new stronger variants. Yeah, there you go. It's possible that that may actually be in our favor. To be safe, just give it to males. Yeah, I mean, there's another point. I mean, either way, the chances are incredibly low. But yeah. Let me take a quick break, folks, and a second to show for myself. Folks, if you enjoyed the content and like what you see, make sure you hit that follow button and head on over to our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. It really does help us out. I appreciate all of you guys being here, and of course, if you can and want to support this channel, there are different ways of doing it: subs, biddies, donos, merch, all of that awesome stuff. Anything, I do appreciate all of you guys being here, and my call to action is always spread the word everywhere and anywhere that this is the chillest place to be for news and politics in the AM, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Thursday. So go ahead and spread the word. That is my huge call to action. Thank you guys for being so awesome and hanging out with me in the mornings. I'll be right back, I promise. I haven't had this information. I'll still get him. As my nurse says, it's 100% effective in preventing hospitalization. Yeah, I mean, regardless, Larry vaccinated. It's just like, the chances are incredibly rare, and I suspect that there may be another factor playing into why this happened. So I still think that people should get vaccinated, and it's also nice to see that the FDA and CDC are doing what needs to be done and taking precautions as necessary. That's what I want to say about this. Did Sam hook you up with that background recommendation? Listen, Sam got that idea from me, okay? Sam got that idea from me. No. No. Yes, I obviously did take inspiration from the, I did take inspiration from the MR background. Yes, of course. It is definitely inspired. It's definitely inspired by MR. I just have my own little flavor to it. Mine is like kind of like a light blue, and I have a couple of things in the back, a couple of like stickers in the back. But yeah, definitely 1000% inspired. Inspired by the Majority Report background, and I got the exact same one. It's actually it's actually on IKEA. I love how Sam got it and then David casually stole it. Yeah, Setgate, and then I casually stole it from them. See how that works? No, yeah. Sam taught David how to do it. Sam gave David the secret sauce on how to do it, and then I mean it was easy. It was easy after that, you know. It was on IKEA, folks. IKEA. Nomiki has a similar one. Not quite like this. Not quite like this, but it's very similar. Alright, folks. Airborne plastic pollution spiraling out around the globe, study finds. Microplastic pollution is now spiraling around the globe according to a study of airborne plastic particles. The research said human pollution has led to a global plastic cycle akin to a natural process such as a carbon cycle, with plastic moving through the atmosphere, oceans, and land. The result is a plastification of the planet, said one scientist. This is incredibly disturbing. I believe we still don't know the complete and full effects of what these microplastics do. I think that we have some evidence to suggest that it's negative. But how much? We have no idea. I think that this is just furthering the case. Furthering the case of necessitating to address this, and hemp. Furthering the case for hemp. I mean, we don't need these plastics, okay? Ronald Reagan says whenever Sam leaves money on the table, David picks it up. True. Oh, Ronald Reagan. I think that this makes the case as to why we need to move into a hemp alternative, right? The analysis calls plastic pollution one of the most pressing environmental issues in the 21st century. It indicates that billions of tons of plastic discarded into the oceans and lands being broken down into tiny pieces are being thrown back into the air by road traffic and winds overseas and the farmlands. People are already known to breathe, drink, and eat microplastics, and other research suggests that levels of pollution will continue to rise rapidly. The scientist said this raises questions on the impact of accumulating plastics in the atmosphere on human health. The inhalation of particles can be irritating to lung tissue and lead to serious diseases. Professor Natalie Malwald at the Cornell University in the US and part of the research team said what we're seeing right now is the accumulation of mismanaged plastic just going up. Some people think it's going to increase by tenfold per decade. But maybe we could solve this before it becomes a huge problem. If we manage our plastics better, before they can accumulate into the environment and swirl around everywhere. She said that clearing up the ocean plastic could help reduce the amount that gets thrown back into the atmosphere, and that more biodegradable plastics could be a part of the solution. Yeah, we don't need like this oil-based type plastic. We have alternatives that are we have the technology to do alternatives already. These technologies exist. The research published in the journal preceding the National Academy of Science examined airborne microplastics, which have been far less studied than plastics in oceans and rivers. The team had more than 300 samples of airborne microplastics from 11 sites across western US, the best data set available globally. These were the basis for atmospheric modeling that estimated the contribution from different sources in the first study to do so. Virtually none of the airborne microplastics came directly from plastic being discarded in city and town, scientists found, but they were the result of road traffic and winds across oceans and farmland, whipping up plastic particles already in the environment. We thought population centers would be a much better source, obviously, but it didn't work out that way. Resuspension of microplastics makes most sense with this set of data. They found that roads were a dominant factor in the western US, linked to about 85% of microplastics in the air. These are likely to include particles from tires and brake pads on vehicles, and plastics from litter that have been ground down. The oceans were estimated to be the source of about 10% of the airborne plastics in the western US, and soils about 5%. Researchers extended their modeling work to a global level, and this suggested that while roads are also likely to be the dominant driver of airborne plastics in Europe, South America, Australia, plastic particles blown up from fields may be a much bigger factor in Africa and Asia. The modeling showed that smaller microplastics can remain in the atmosphere for a week, long enough to be blown across continents. It also showed plastic pollution will be falling on Antarctica. Scientists said that the lack of observation in many parts of the world meant that there were significant uncertainties in their estimates. Their work shows in particular a lack of data on plastics in the air above the oceans. They said work to understand the source and consequence of microplastics in the atmosphere should be a priority. Professor Andreas Stoll at the Norwegian Institute for Air and Research, and not part of the study team, said, "What humans have been doing for decades is now what I call a plastification of landscapes and oceans." The study confirms the global scale nature of microplastics transport in the atmosphere. This does a good job in highlighting highly relevant and concerning possibilities, but more measurement data is needed to get a better idea of the sources. Right. I mean, I still think that this makes the clear-cut case why we need to move to alternatives. Not only these exist, but they keep coming up with new ways every year. True. Between hemp and bamboo, we can end a huge amount of pollution and save a huge amount of trees. That's correct. Anybody, would you be down to discuss certain topics? It depends. It depends. I mean, you know, I'm live and would like to chat with you. Well, right now, no, because I do have to get through these articles. But if you ever want to chat about something, just send me a DM, and I'm always willing to chat in private. Or have a chat at a scheduled date. But yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to talking about issues. Thanks for being polite. Yeah, of course. Yeah, just send me a whisper if you want. And does a good job. Okay, so yes, Stoll said that people should be concerned about airborne microplastics, because first, they will inhale it, and it is very likely that this will have some health impacts. And secondly, the atmosphere is a great distributor. It transports plastic particles to regions we definitely don't want to have them. Agricultural fields, a national park, ocean and Arctic, and even Antarctica. Yeah, so we still, again, need to pay attention to these type of things and understand that this could have a domino effect on many things. Microplastic pollution has been detected across the planet, from the summit of Mount Everest to the deepest oceans. The revelation in December of small plastic particles in human placentas was described by scientists as a matter of great concern. Yeah, so, I mean, need I say more? Need I say more? So in case you weren't aware, Japan is currently saying they want to release the Fukushima treated radioactive water into the sea, which is a incredibly dangerous thing to do. I think that no matter what the safe process is, I think that is unacceptable, because we have no idea. We have no idea what the ecological effects of these and health effects of this will be. Japan's government decided on Tuesday to start releasing treated radioactive water from the wrecked Fukushima nuclear plant into the Pacific Ocean in 2 years, an option fiercely opposed by fishermen. Yeah, fishermen, I imagine why. Because even if they do it in a measured form, that could have negative effects on the fish, the fish wildlife, which, turns out, they really depend on. Fishermen, residents, and Japan's neighbors. The decision, long speculated but delayed for years due to safety concerns and protests, came at a meeting of cabinet ministers who endorsed the ocean release as the best option. The accumulating water has been stored in tanks at the Fukushima Daiichi. Daiichi? I want to see it's... Wait. Daiichi is 11? I don't remember. Daiichi plant since 2011, when a massive earthquake and tsunami damaged its reactors and their cooling water became contaminated and began leaking. The plant's storage capacity will be full late next year. Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga said ocean release was the most realistic option. I don't know about that. Realistic option of disposing the water is unavoidable for the decommissioning of the Fukushima plant, which is expected to take decades. He also pledged the government would work to ensure the safety of the water and prevent damaging rumors on local agriculture, fishery, and tourism. I feel like there's got to be a way to Hey, Grolum, how's it going? No, I don't think that's how that works. Godzilla? No. I'm glad they have steps in place that'll take decades to finally do. Hopefully we stop it in between that time. I feel like they could have, there's gotta be a different way. There's gotta be a different way. Maybe there can be a nation that can start taking some of this. Stop ruining my immersion. There's gotta be like a nation or a strategy where we get that radioactive waste out of Japan and stored as properly as possible somewhere where it will have the least amount of chances of leaking into important ecosystems or whatnot. I think that this just saying that, oh well, realistically the only choice that we have is like slowly releasing this into the ocean. I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that decision. The plant's operator, Tokyo Electric Power Company, and the government officials say tritium, which is not harmful in small amounts, cannot be removed from the water, but all other selected radionuclides can be reduced to levels allowed for release. Levels allowed for release. I don't know what that means, nor am I really comfortable with that. Some scientists say that the long-term impact on marine life from low-dose exposures to such large volumes of water is unknown. The government stresses the safety of the water by calling it treated, not radioactive, even though radionuclides can only be reduced to disposable levels, not to zero. Yeah, disposable levels. I don't know what that means, and I'm not really comfortable trying to figure out exactly years down the road saying, that's really weird. We are seeing entire populations of fish die off or something like that, you know? The amount of radioactive materials that would remain in the water is also still unknown. So yeah, we don't even know that. No, I'm sorry, but this is not an acceptable plan. Under the basic plan adopted Tuesday by the ministers, TEPCO will start releasing the water in about 2 years after building a facility and compiling release plans adhering to safety requirements. But how do you know it's safe if you don't know the effects? How can you say something is safe when you still have so unknown variables here? I'm not sure. People used to sell water with lead in it as tonic water. Maybe they should try. No. Maybe we'll improve our rockets so we can start shooting nuclear waste into space. Ease into the radioactive poisoning of our oceans. True. You want to know something funny? I was playing Stellaris last night. Hit me up. At least they have a plan. It seems like we're just ignoring the issues while the marshland atomics waste that is going to get flooded as the ocean rises. Yikes. Yeah, I mean, sure. It is a plan. But I'm not sure if this is like the acceptable plan though. It's the disposal of water cannot be postponed further, and it's necessary to improve the environment surrounding the plants so that residents can live there safely. Residents, fishery officials, and environmental groups issued statements denouncing the decision as ignoring environmental safety and health, while adding a further blow to Fukushima's image and economy from the water discharge that will continue for decades. Yeah, I think that no, I'm not comfortable with this. I had this robot ancient empire contact my empire. They were like, we need to inoculate your people to protect them. So these guys, if you're strong, so these guys, if you refuse them, they'll get mad at me. They're super strong. So I'm like, sure. Let me guess. They all infected your, yeah, I knew it. Oh man, dang. Yikes. Yikes. And to think I wanted to be a marine biologist when I was in high school. Yeah, marine bio is interesting. I took that course in high school. Japan Fisheries Cooperative's chairman Hiroshi Kishi said that the decision less than a week after he met with Suga is absolutely unacceptable, noting the government's pledge not to act without the fishing industry's understanding. Kishi said the decision trampled on all Japanese fishery operators. Yeah, if these guys are super concerned, I'd say it's safe to say that we should at least like listen to what they're saying, right? I mean, their livelihood is dependent on it. Yeah, so of course, bringing this up for people to be aware of what's happening, this is, I think, unacceptable. There's got to be a different alternative, in my opinion. Okay, folks. We're gonna cut it close today. We're definitely gonna cut it close today. Ooh. Over a third of Antarctic ice shelf could collapse as climate change warms the Earth. Needless to say, this is not good. Over a third of the Antarctic ice shelf at risk of collapsing as Earth continues to warm. In a new study, scientists at the University of Reading have found that as climate change continues, if Earth's global temperatures rise to 7.2 degrees Fahrenheit, 4 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, about 193,000 square miles of the Arctic shelves could collapse into the sea. Ice shelves are permanent floating slabs of ice attached to coastlines, and the collapse of these shelves could significantly raise global sea levels, which, needless to say, it's not just about, like, sure, there's going to be rising sea levels, but, like, there's also domino effects that can happen when there's too much fresh water into the ocean. That's also a part of the problem, which also has a domino effect into how ocean currents work, which also has a domino effect into how our ecosystems and weather patterns work. I mean, this all has a interconnected, very complex thing where you mess with one thing and you all of a sudden have a myriad of different effects. This is why it's so important, and this is why I stress people to like realize what's happening and be attentive. Ice shelves are important buffers, preventing glaciers from land from flowing freely into the ocean and contributing to sea level rise. When they collapse, it's like a giant cork being removed from a bottle, allowing unimaginable amounts of water from glaciers to pour into the sea. Well, there's another domino effect. It's just going to accelerate that. Every summer in Antarctica, the ice on the surface of the ice shelf melts, and that water travels into the snow below where it refreezes. But in years with more melting ice and snowfall, that water ends up pooling in the ice shelf surface and falls in cracks in the ice, melting and growing those cracks until the ice breaks off into the ocean. This exact thing happened with the Larsen B ice shelf in 2002, and in this study, the researchers identified the ice shelf Larsen C as a particular risk for collapse in warmer temperatures. In this study, researchers used high-resolution regional climate modeling technology to predict how melting ice and water runoff will affect ice shelf stability over time and at different global temperatures. They modeled ice shelf vulnerability at global temperatures at 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit or 1.5 degrees Celsius, 3.6 Fahrenheit at 2 degrees Celsius, and 7.2 degrees at 4 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, 3 scenarios that are all possible within this century. All possible within this century. By the way, this is not some ephemeral thing that's happening, some distant future that we don't need to worry about. Within this century, folks. We know that when melted ice accumulates on the surface of ice shelves, it can make them fracture and collapse spectacularly. Previous research has given us the bigger picture in terms of predicting Antarctic ice shelf decline, but our new study uses the latest modeling techniques to fill in the finer details and provide more precise projections. Yeah. So yeah, the stressor heat, the message here, I guess, the TLDR is, geez, I can't English. The findings highlight the importance of limiting global temperatures increase as set out in the Paris Agreement if we are to avoid the worst consequences of the climate change. Including sea level rise, which, by the way, is already that Paris Agreement limit is already off the table. I don't think we're gonna make it. What? Guys, if you want to see the level of domino effects that can happen with this, check this out. Additionally, with the loss of glacier, you actually lose their gravitational pull. So when you lose West Antarctica, you lose its gravitational pull on the United States, and actually part of the sea level rise we see in the US is related to the loss of ice shelves that indirect gravity effect as well. Yeah, wild. I did not know that. Matt Groening is a time traveler. Confirmed. But he chuckled it off, but he knew his cover was blown. Yeah, no. I don't think he is, but it's kind of funny. Yeah, so just to illustrate, as I was saying, there's like some massive domino effects that that potentially something just as simple as like sea level rise can do. There's even an indirect effect on gravity. As part of, I guess, because it's losing mass or something. I don't know, I'm not like a scientist to get into the details of it. I understand the general concepts, but the one thing is clear. Having this continue is only going to lead to much bigger problems in the future, and failing to address it now is going to be way harder in the future, if we are able to at all, way more expensive and way more costly in terms of health, life, in terms of health and life. So it would stand to reason that we hope to address this as soon as possible, and that's not going to happen unless we take it upon ourselves to to organize and put pressure on politicians to do something. Otherwise, business as usual is not acceptable and will lead us into the more catastrophic side of climate change. Not my opinion. It's just how things are looking after every new study. It seems to me like we kind of get a grasp of how bad things are, I think. Every new study is like, yo, we actually don't have that much time. Every new study is like, well, actually, the severity of such and such thing happening, or actually worse, or we didn't even contemplate how you know, this is going to affect other stuff. Like it's a whole thing, and I think it is incredibly complex, but incredibly important that we let science dictate what we need to do. And I think that we need a political will to address this issue if we're going to avoid the more catastrophic side of it. If we're going to be serious about mitigation, the time to start that is, well, decades ago, I should say. Unfortunately. All right, folks. It is getting close to that time. So I do have to start heading out. I want to thank everybody for coming on here. I just read an article about a small company in Africa making bricks from plastic. Yep, that's true. That's correct, Memius. Did you hear about some people saying that we should put more sulfur into the atmosphere in order to block solar rays from penetrating the atmosphere and slow planet warming? We had a movie about that. Terrible idea, unless there's some scientific background, some scientific backup to that. I'm not sure, Mr. Mayhem. I've seen some scientists say that we may need to alter our atmospheric composition or something like that. That may be something that could potentially be in play, but it would be something that would be last resort. They said it would be something that they would consider as a last resort. Correct. There's so many ocean-related problems that are piling up. We really need to find a way to get every major nation on board. Correct. Correct. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. So yes, folks, I do appreciate all of you guys hanging out here. Thank you guys so much. You guys are what makes this channel grow. If you do enjoy the content, make sure you hit that follow button. Make sure you head on over to our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate everybody here. And of course, if you guys want to hang out with us, there is a Discord. I want to thank Very Polite Vampire for the follow, Miss Nixa for the follow. I believe that was a offline follow. I'm not sure, but just making sure that that I got everybody. Thank you all for hanging out. Thank you, Grolem. Thank you, Spread It Forward. Thank you, Spirefall. I appreciate all of you guys hanging out here. Thank you, Memius. All of you guys are absolutely awesome. You guys are what makes the channel grow. And if you enjoy, again, my call to action, as always, please spread the word far and wide to everyone and anyone that this is the chillest place to be for news and politics in the morning. I'm here Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. As always, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next stream. See ya! Alright, let's see who we can raid, folks. Stay with me. Left is best. Bleep Blop Ben, let's go. I believe he's still doing a partner push. Not sure, but either way, let's go show some of Difficult Truth love. Raid Iden Simpson, yes, we did yesterday. So I'm gonna raid Bleep Blop Ben. Because I haven't raided them in a while. And they're doing a partner push, so stay with me, folks. Show Bleep Blop Ben some love. As always, thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Left is best.